Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of my book series review. So today's episode is going to be a little bit of a shorter one because of the book that I'm going to go over. And the title of the book is On the Shortness of Life. Life is long if you know how to use it. And this is by Seneca. So Seneca was a famous Italian philosopher way back in the day. And this is one of his most famous works. How I heard about it was a video that Ty Lopez did on it, and then after that where I went on Amazon and I purchased a copy of the book, and then I'll do the same for you guys. I'll post a link in the description because even though it's a shorter book and it's more of like a philosophical book, I think it's still very vital because once you read it and once you kind of understand it, you'll look at time a little bit more differently. At least that's how I view it. And again, I think the reason why I'm choosing this book is because of the topic. So any book that I choose, there's a reason. I think the topic's very valuable. So yeah, let's get into it. A few key points that I'll make on it. Then, like I said, this is going to be one of the shorter videos and episodes that I do. So time is a subject that can be, everyone is always talking about it, whether good or bad. People are always saying, well, I don't have the time, or I wish that there was more time in my life. I have so many things I have to do. And at least from the people that, I interact with, and I'm sure you guys know too, I think a lot of times people are kind of bullshitting themselves, or they say that they don't have the time to do it, but in reality, when half the time they're probably not even doing anything, it's coming from a little bit of laziness. And then when they don't accomplish something or they don't have the things that they have in life, it's because they didn't put in the time to it. So just a couple of the main key takeaways that I took from this book is that in our life and nowadays, on average, most people are expected to live between 70 to 80 years old. I think women is a little bit longer than men. Obviously, God forbid, any kind of disease or accident. Let's just say the typical lifespan is 75 years old. So what Seneca mentions in his book is that we have quite a bit of time. And the key point is how you utilize your time. And like, I know it's easier said than done, but just listen to this point. He says that if you know how to utilize your time, we have quite a bit of time that we can actually live the life that we want. So we're given enough time. So what does that mean? It means, and I know it sounds basic, but it's utilizing your time. So take a look at what you do during the day. How much time, for example, do you spend watching TV, or you're always out, or you're just sleeping in all the time? So instead of putting some hours into those activities, maybe you can cut it down and put it into something that you want to develop, such as like your business or your work, or a type of activity that that will maybe make you financially a little bit better, or maybe physically fit. So he just mentions that you really need to take a look at what you're spending your time on. And yes, life is short, or time is short, when you're spending it on activities that is not ultimately giving you the lifestyle that you want. So I can get into a few examples of how I utilize it personally, but just again want everyone to understand like this concept, because it makes you switch from that mentality of, oh, I don't have enough time, or I wish I had more time. I'm like, no. He mentions, no, you do have enough time, but you're just probably, if you're complaining about time, you're probably not utilizing it to the best of your ability. And even if you think you are, just really think. So if you catch yourself watching like a 2-hour movie, or you just Netflixed for 3-4 hours, well, if you want to do it, that's fine, but then don't complain that there's not enough time if you are complaining. So that's really the key point. So just a couple of like examples that I can give, and we can kind of conclude, because I think it's a great book. Again, pick it up, because once you kind of start implementing that thinking, or you start viewing time differently, then it changes your whole perspective. So like for example, and I mentioned this concept in a previous video before, about this concept of being impatiently patient instead of patiently impatient. And this is a lesson from one of Tai Lopez's 67 steps. So just to kind of refresh about what that concept is that he mentions that most people, or maybe not most, a lot of people are patiently impatient. So that means that they want a lot of stuff. They have big goals and they want a lot of stuff. So they're impatient about it all the time because they always want everything the easiest way, the fastest way. But they're not willing to put in the time and effort in order to accomplish those goals. So they're impatient, like they're patient as far as doing the work and putting the effort, but then they're impatient about the goals itself, always wanting things to happen just like that. So most people are PI. When in reality, he says that you should be IP, meaning that you should have patience on whatever goals that you want, but in order to get to them, you should be impatient, meaning that you should every day, every month, and every year be taking those baby small action steps that will eventually lead you to your goal. And sometimes the bigger the goal, the longer it'll take. So you're being impatiently patient, meaning that you're taking action steps pretty much on a daily basis. You're not wasting any time, but then realize that it's not going to come so soon. So that's why you have to be patient about the macro, about the long-term goal itself, depending on how big it is. So I think that concept fits into this book, meaning that there is enough time and you do have to be patient on the type of goals or whatever goals that you want. But you also have to take the action steps, because once you start taking those action steps, you start seeing the results, and then you'll realize that there is plenty of time. It's just a matter of fact of how you utilize it or not. So I'll end the video on maybe a couple examples. So again, working out. Everyone has that goal of being physically fit, looking the best that they can, hopefully. But as far as taking the action steps, taking the time, dedicate 3, 4, even 5 days out of the week. Spend an hour. If not an hour, you can spend a half an hour or even 15 minutes, because you're utilizing your time. Everybody has, I think, 15 minutes or 30 minutes that you can dedicate to some kind of physically activity. Doesn't have to be a gym. Maybe you can just go out and walk outside or buy a treadmill, something. So again, you have the time to work out. This is a lot of times a lot of people are making excuses, or they're not wanting to put in that effort. I'll talk about maybe another one is maybe dating. So when it comes to dating, if you're single, maybe be patient, don't rush into anything. But as far as utilizing your time, if you have the time, try to go to some social events that that's happening in your city. Or do a cold approach every day if you're a guy. If you see a girl that you like, maybe on your lunch break or whatever, next time you're grocery shopping or you have to buy something from the mall. You don't realize it, but like as a guy, especially if you live in a big city, but we're around, there's women around us constantly. And I know if you're a girl viewing this video, this is relating to guys only. Is this, because I'm a guy, I have to just give it from my viewpoint. But don't just rely on the weekends and bars and nightclubs, because sometimes that's like the worst place if you want to meet a girl. So we have the time. There is quite a bit of time. So if you, do a approach every day or so, you'll realize that you'll develop that abundance mindset, and you'll not be so worried about only focusing on the weekend only and only for a couple of hours when I'm at a bar or nightclub, and that's the only time I can actually meet a girl or meet a woman. And then just to end it more generally, it's just about business. And I'm in the process of creating a couple of my businesses, and I've read quite a few books and I'm still learning and reading. But one of the things that you have to teach, that I'm teaching myself, is this patient mentality. It may take a while. Who knows how long it'll take? It could be 6 months, a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years before you start seeing some kind of dividends. But at the same time, I'm utilizing my time on a daily, monthly basis to make sure that I'm taking the action steps necessary to put myself in the best possible version to succeed in this business. Because for the most part, it's not going to happen by itself. You get what you get, you get what you put into anything, the amount of energy. So all these 3 examples that I gave about working out, about dating, and about creating your own business is about tying back to this book. about there is enough time to accomplish what you want, but it's just a matter of making sure that you're utilizing your time in the most efficient way possible. And yes, it is good to have long-term macro goals, but just realize that it's the action steps necessarily that you need to take on a daily basis in order to reach that. And what Seneca is mentioning is that if we, just say you sleep 8 hours, if you utilize your 16 hours every day to the best possible way that you can, and you can divide it up to whatever you feel like is most important between working out and some time dedicated to your family, and then some time dedicated to, let's say, a side business that you're doing. He's mentioning that there is enough time. It's just people think that they don't have enough time, but then they don't realize that, they may spend a couple hours watching like a movie or shows or sporting events. And again, that's fine if you enjoy it. Of course, we need to have some downtime. It's only pertains to people who are complaining, but they're still doing those activities. So guys, again, I'll leave a description, or I'll leave the link in the description. Pick it up. It's a pretty cheap book, and I think it'll have an impact on you, because it had an impact on mine. And hopefully, if you do pick it up, you can kind of have a different viewpoint of your time and realize that we do have enough. You just maybe have to utilize it. I have to utilize it myself too. So again, pick it up. I'll leave a link in the description. And thanks for watching the episode, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.